Welcome to Realty Talk, where we talk real about real estate. No hype, no selling, just facts. My name is Frank Rodriguez, the manager here at Casabella Realty Group. And our goal is to bring you transparent and useful information you can use when making your real estate decisions. Welcome to the multi-unit investment series, aka buy and hold. And if you've watched the previous series, you know that this video is not about entertaining or being flashy or using hyperbole. It's about facts, numbers, processes, and I'm hoping that you continue watching these. If this is your first time, congratulations for landing on this channel. I do encourage you to go to other series that we've put out. Now, if you're a returning viewer, thank you for the support. Thank you for the learning. And thank you for the contribution, not only to what we do as an industry, but also contributing to yourself and your growth. Okay, so in this series that we're going to be covering in multiple videos, I have my notes here. As you know, I use the notes because this is a working video. Again, like I said, it's not about entertaining, and we're working through this together. Now, in most cases, I know that if you're watching this video, you landed here, multi-unit investing, I may be preaching to the choir. Maybe you're already investing and you have maybe a portfolio of, I don't know, maybe anywhere between 8 to 30 doors. And if that's the case, in part of sharing here with one another, if you have any recommendations or suggestions from anything you hear, put it in the comments. This way we can also contribute from your experience to the community of people watching this video. Because if you do have a portfolio, in my opinion, you're a winner, like I'm a winner. And there's maybe a lot of other people watching this video that they're winners as well, though they're maybe starting in their real estate building portfolio process. So hearing from you in the comments of anything you recommend will be greatly appreciated, right? Now, the second group, of course, is the one I alluded to a moment ago. If you're a starting investor or an expiring investor, I do have certain things to say here at the onset of this series, is that this isn't about getting rich quick, right? This is not that process. I know there's a lot of that going on social media and everywhere else, where everyone wants to make it seem that if you snap your finger, all of a sudden you're on a beach collecting a lot of money. This is not that, okay? This is about doing work, right? First, with what you're doing here, making a commitment to watch the video to see what you can learn. That requires work. Second is thinking through the information you're going to hear and processing that. Henry Ford said that the hardest thing to do for most people is to think, right? Now, a lot of us have mental activity. That's not thinking. Thinking is hearing something, processing it, and making it your own and assimilating it. And how does it make sense to you and your plan? That's thinking. And most people are lazy to do that. They rather watch an entertaining video and just have mental activity and believe that they're thinking. That's not thinking, right? So uh, it's going to require a lot of thinking on your part from what you hear. Don't take my word for it in anything I say here. You know, Process the information on your own and think through it and see if it makes sense, right? Uh, Also, as a real estate company, we have a specialized department that handles multi-unit investments with our clients. We have a lot of repeat clients, which we're very grateful for. We're not here to sell you on this idea of investing in multi-units. We're not here to sell you a product or a service or a subscription. No, this is a way of us getting the message out, as maybe some other great companies, great presenters, great teachers have been doing so. Though sometimes we're in the minority, right? Because most of what's on the internet or social media, it's a lot of the hyperbole, as I mentioned earlier. So this is our way of doing PR for this great niche of multi-unit investing, if done properly and with the right team. So we're not here to sell you anything. Now, how do we make our money? It's by helping you make money. As I mentioned, we have a lot of repeat clients. We've had clients that started maybe with a duplex, and after a few exchanges, now they have 8-unit properties. So it's always a great experience for us to see people grow their portfolio, and of course, along the way of receiving that gratification on our end and the financial benefit to our clients. Of course, we're going to make money along the way in each transaction. So that's how we make money, is by helping you make money. All right. So um, I like to cover some of the topics here in general terms of what we're going to be covering in the different videos to come. Okay. One is different types of properties. This is a buy and hold series, multi-unit investing. This won't be, wholesaling. This won't be fix and flip. This is multi-units, and there's different types of multi-units, such as mixed use, residential, commercial. Um, so we'll go into the different types of properties. Also, we'll go into how to rate and determine what we call the KPIs for the different type of property, as well as the different areas that you may be thinking of investing. When we buy our principal residence, or we're going to sell our principal residence, we tend to use sales comparables. Okay, once we're into multi-unit investing, we don't so much look at the price. We look at the KPIs, right? Um, because you can have two properties next to each other as far as multi-units, very similar to one another. One might be valued at 1.6 million. The other may be valued at maybe 1.2 million. And the KPIs will make that difference. So what we look for is comparables in those numbers to make sure that the investing takes place accordingly. Okay. Thirdly, we'll go into a breakdown of those numbers to start the gross rental multiplier, the GRM. Next, we'll cover the cap rate, which is uh, a mystery to a lot of people, including investors, though it's something that's very needed. And we'll cover how to figure that out. What's a good cap rate versus a bad cap rate? And again, it's going to be relative to the area or type of property that we invest in, going back to the KPIs of different type of properties as well as the different areas. We'll look into the return on investment, be it you're paying cash for a property, or be it you're getting financing. There's a return on investment that we look at as to your out-of-pocket money as in comparison to how much you'll be taking in. This one here is a hot topic. It's been so since it started a few years back. AB 1482, California rent law. Okay, we'll go deep into how this affects the resetting of properties and also the reviewing of numbers when negotiating properties. There's still a lot of, I don't want to call it maliciousness. I like to think of it more as, certain agents maybe a little naive or haven't fully learned how to calculate these numbers or how this law applies. And they're still using a lot of projected numbers that supersede AB 1482. And, starting investor, maybe working with an agent that isn't too well versed in this may make a lot of mistakes. So we'll look at how AB 1482 affects the negotiating process and reviewing of numbers and the resetting of properties. Next, We'll look at the different local rent control. And when we do this video, it's going to be in LA County. Okay, that's the county that we're in here. Oh, excuse me, we're at as far as a company, LA County. And if you're in a different county, make sure you work with an agent that really understands the local rent control. Because I mentioned 1482, which is all of California, all of 58 counties of California. Now, locally would be the county, LA County, because at the county level, there's certain restrictions or their own version of the rent control that supersedes the state level. And then within the county, here in LA County, for example, we have 88 cities total. And out of those 88 cities, currently we have 13 cities that have adopted their own city specific rent control that will supersede the county and the state and are usually more restrictive. So it's very important to be well versed in all this, as well as having an agent that you work with. And if you're in LA County, that's where we come in. Now, if you're outside of LA County, just make sure you interview the agent, or if you're working with a friend, a relative, because you want them to, you want to do them a favor versus really making sure things get done right, make sure you do your own homework. Okay. So, a lot of topics we'll be discussing this series. What I recommend is that each video that you watch, you have a notepad, you have a pen or pencil to take notes. Okay. Um, 1031 exchanges. I mean, there's just so capital gains. There's so many more items that we're going to discuss in this series that I didn't mention here. And in each video, I might allude or say something very directly to something that maybe you weren't expecting. Now, the benefit of YouTube or any other video um, platform is that you can always go back, right, and listen to it again. Though I recommend that, old-fashioned way, note taking and reviewing your notes. And if you have any follow-up questions to anything you hear, write it in the comments or reach out to us directly, and we'll be happy to answer those questions for you. All right. So I'm looking forward to this series. It's something that I'm very passionate about. I'm not sure if you're sensing that. And I know that we're going to have a great time while we learn a lot together. And again, if you're an experienced investor in this area, tag along, right? Maybe there's something additional that maybe you haven't covered, or best case scenario, you can contribute to our community by putting your recommendations and suggestions in the comments. All right, take care.